Over to
Thanks
you,
a
sir.
lot. There was a Hindi movie, Feet Teri Kahani Yaad Aayi. I have left marketing long back. I used to be there in Europe only. Anyway, uh, so since morning there are different sessions. Like we have talked about sustainable agriculture, eco-friendly chemicals, agrochemicals. I'm sorry, and then innovative agrochemicals, regulatory framework, precision agriculture, and now it has come to strategies for market penetration and growth in global market. So, like I don't want to repeat again and again, but India is doing very good in agrochemical export, and we are trade surplus. Very few segments are trade surplus, and agrochemical is one. And if I understand correctly, I think the export will be around 5.5 billion US dollar, but it's mostly confined to US, Brazil, Japan, and I think even in Argentina. Almost 55% of the export is happening in these countries. There are another 130 countries, like export is happening, but the share is not that much. So we'll talk about that. We'll come to the panelists to understand that what need to be done so that, like the share goes up. See, for any business, there need to be a proper strategy. I always feel that Lord Krishna is the best strategist in the world or in the universe. In Bhagavad Gita, it says, Nahi karmeno shadrisho pavitro miho vidyate. Karam jaisa pavitra kuch nahi hai. But do the karam in such a way that at the end of the day it becomes fruitful. And Lord Krishna, he says that whenever you find an opportunity, you should know the ground reality. You should know your strength and weakness. And at the same time, you should know the strength and weakness of the enemy. Here, I should not use the word enemy. It is competitors. So anyway, I'll come to Rajesh sir first. And because, he's known, he's a very outspoken person, like I always interact with him. And he's a very good communicator, speaks very upfront. So I want to know from you that how do you look at the future international market consolidation, growth and expansion? Because yesterday I was going through the data and I see that we are not doing that much in African countries. Even in Latin American countries, except Brazil and Argentina, we are not doing much in other countries. Even in the Asian countries also, our share is not that high. So I'd like to hear from you in 2 minutes.
Okay. Since the question is put on the export side, though we are not a large exporter, but we have been working very, I would say, precisely on data generation. And particularly if we talk about the Brazilian and American markets, South America, North America, Europe, these are basically, everybody knows, are the technical based markets. And India has pioneered in making of technicals, particularly the generics. और क्यों नहीं? हमें करना ही चाहिए, I believe. Why? Because आज सैलरी स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ इंडिया $150, $150 में आप एम्प्लॉयमेंट चालू कर सकते हैं अपने यहाँ. कौन सी कंट्रीज जहाँ पर हमें माल देना है वो कर सकते हैं. इसके बाद में अगर हम देखते हैं तो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, रोड्स, अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ एक्सपर्ट्स, डॉक्टर्स, इंजीनियर्स कितने अच्छे दाम पर अवेलेबल हैं. तो आई थिंक वी हैव developed an expertise over manufacturing of these generic technicals, and when India is making, the inventors also sometimes have to shut their shops because it is very difficult for them to compete with us. A lot of people have shown in their slides, though I joined a little late, that India is making high quality material at very competitive prices. Definitely all the R&D which is happening, it is around making these generic products again or copying these products again. But if you are the seconder, then what are the challenges what you have to face? The first thing is your quality has to be better than the inventor's quality. Your price has to be better than the inventor's price. Maybe you have to save in solvents, you have to save in wastages, water wastages, you have to make the process shorter, and you have to make a better product. Then only you can compete in the international markets. And very precisely, our scientists, I would say our R&D experts, our production experts, they have proved that several times, not in one product, but in dozens of products, India is leading the international markets. So this has given a big advantage to India. And since all these markets which are being talked about are the large consumers, so our sales looks higher. When we come to Africa, also Asia, there are many markets which consume technical, but the consumption of technical is very, very limited. We have seen that all these markets go for ready products. Either we make our branches there and supply or distribute the product, or we do the white labeling. So the same is also happening, but the value is hugely different. Why? Because these are generic based markets, very cheap products. The value doesn't reach to that level. So that is making a difference. But I would assure you, sir, all the companies are focusing around export. All leading companies, and India, we are talking about $5.4 billion. I don't see that day too far when India is going to cross $10 billion. Because today, if I look at the agrochemical sector, then if I say top 50 companies, I think mostly all of the companies are investing on backward integration. They are investing on R&D, because if you have to do the backward integration, then you have to develop the ability to manufacture, because manufacturing of technical is very, very different. This is the synthesis. A plus B is C is not like a formulation. So all the companies are investing. So a lot of, I think India should lead in manufacturing. Sometimes people say, can we beat China? Can we stop our dependence on China totally? It is a good target, but I would say it is a little enthusiastic target, because China has been spending on R&D from decades. The vision of Make in India, the vision of Invent in India came to our country just 5 years back. I think people have started investing, but it is going to take time to reach that level with minimum government support. Why I'm saying minimum government support? Because I'll not call it a double engine sarkar, but the PM is saying something. Is it getting implemented? Did the agrochemical industry receive the PLI scheme? Is anything positive happening in any of the budgets for the agrochemical industry? I don't see anything. But still, we are getting a self-initiative, and the industry is progressive. And I believe that industry is going to have a very strong future, not only in the world, but also in the country, because our consumption is also going to go up. When I say consumption is going to go up, I mean to say the value is going to go up, and not the exact numbers. When I say numbers, it's the quantity. Because if a comparison was given for 2001, again I would like to come to 2001, when the market size was very small. And since that day, the consumption of agrochemical in terms of quantity has been decreasing, because the type of agrochemical which are using are changing, and they will keep on changing continuously. So it is only the value which is going up, and it will keep on going up. And if we are given a little more support, like in the world there are more than 1,000 pesticides, in India 250. So don't we have the technology or the capability to make it? We have it. But if we can get some support from the government in data generation, when I say data generation, all these products, most of these products which are off-patented are very, very popular in America, Europe, other OECD countries. The basic data is available. If long-term toxicity data is given the exemption, then Indian industry can make these products and make this product for the Indian farmer. We may be making these products and supplying to the inventors already, but it is a tailor-made thing. It's not ready-made. The day we started doing ready-made, the advantage is going to come in the international markets also, as well as the domestic markets. Thank you.
Yeah, that's why I have requested to speak first. So many things you made clear.
Thank you.
We need government support, and there has to be a, harmonization between state and the central government, which is not happening. Anyway, I'll come to Shivraj Anand. He's a young and dynamic, person, he's at his growing phase. On the same point, can you please speak on the expanding geographical reach, the new opportunities? I'm not talking about the old things, the new opportunities, or how to consolidate the market.
Yeah. So I think I come from a slightly newer generation than a lot of people in the industry. Have a few, although I agree with a lot of points, I have some differing views as well. As a young citizen of this country who's actually been born into a country growing at 8 to 10% year on year, it's very impressive that, of course, we have 5 billion exports, and it's a great pat on our back, but I often feel that on very many cases, we leave a lot of value on the table. When we export $5 billion to the inventors, or especially the technical that gets exported, they convert that into 15. So actually, there's a lot of spread left over on the table. And whenever you get into any global expansion, you have three routes to market. You can either go for adaptation to the market, for example, where let's say McDonald's does a spicy paneer wrap in India. So you adapt to the local market, or you do arbitration of costs. I think this is where most Indian companies have gone down the route and had a lot of success. But unfortunately, as this year has shown us with horrible dumping of prices from China, and it has been, I think, probably one of the most difficult years that our industry has seen, possibly the last decade and a half. It shows that in the absence of a free economy globally, with the Chinese governments receiving so much support from their government, as Rajesh said, we are going to have a problem every time if you are going to try and just be the cheaper than the inventor or cheaper than the Chinese supplier. And that's where really your diversification globally into setting up global offices in, be it Africa, Asia, Russia, CIS, or even, Latin American countries. There was the presentation from UPL before. I visited the UPL office in Colombia. I was surprised to hear on branded business in Colombia, UPL does $100 million. And you would not think of that being a go-to market. Yes, we have great success in the US, but again, with 11% of the supplies, China still beats us every time. So I do feel that just as Indian companies backward integrate, and there's been a great push on Make in India to backward integrate. Parijat also, about 6-7 years ago, we went in. There should also be a focus on forward integrating into our brand business. We are a Make in India engine, but, and I spend most of the year traveling overseas and going to farms in other markets. 9 times out of 10, you go to a farmer's shop in Russia, across Africa, South America, the US, you will not see Make in India on the label. Because we export, we are OEM manufacturers to the world. Until and unless we have Made in India on the bottle, we will not be the leaders of agrochemicals globally. And we have the potential, because quite luckily, not only do we have fabulous scientists in agrochemicals, we have fabulous scientists in India across solvents, emulsifiers, we have great bottle manufacturers. We have everything to make sure that when farmers pick up bottles across the world, it says Made in India on the bottle. And so that's really where I see the growth actually. Setting up offices, doing the legwork, doing registrations, and that's where the future is.
I'll come back to you. So let me take inputs from Abhishek ji on the why India is a preferred partner for global customers.
Okay. So actually, if we talk about the exports, we can say that it's divided into two parts. The journey, if we see the slide from UPL also, we saw that the export took a big leap from 2010 onwards. And why this happened, we need to know this. It was the Beijing Olympics in 2008 when the global suppliers felt, global customers felt that there is a huge dependency on China. So of course, as a China plus one strategy and also Europe plus one strategy, the people started to give at least 20 or 30% of their global requirement to the Indian manufacturers. So you see a huge jump in exports from India, particularly from 2010, and a big jump from 2014 onwards, because the registration process and everything in these countries take a lot of time. So the people started that at least 20% or 30% we should buy from India. And as a de-risk strategy, all these things started and there was a jump in exports from India. Now comes the point today. Today, why India is a preferred partner? The most important reason today why India is a preferred partner for export is protection of IP rights. We know that the pipeline of R&D molecules globally is very subdued, very low. The amount of money which Japanese or multinationals are spending on research and development is humongous, and they would like to protect their IP rights. Indian people know what is the full form of NDA and CDA, rather the Chinese people, wherein you are giving your technology for manufacturing, and next day it's a copy. So India is today a very, very big preferred partner for newer chemistries, and because of a fantastic law in India, which is 9(3) export only category, there is no need for a multinational to open the technology pack and he can get the product exported to the country of origin or global market. Vis-a-vis, if you actually go to China and ask a Chinese manufacturer to manufacture a patented molecule for a multinational or a Japanese player, he has to give the full data pack, full technology to the Ministry of Agriculture. So today, with newer chemistries coming, India is becoming more and more dearer for all the top 5 big MNCs and also for the Japanese partner. This is here to stay. So anybody and everybody who is into manufacturing of agrochemicals, I think you have a great time ahead. Of course, as what Mr. Shivraj just said, it's a very tough time what global agrochem is going on today. And maybe this will continue for 1 or 2 more years. And that is where the leadership role comes into picture, how you can sustain your organization today. But I think the future contracts, the future new molecule contracts will be coming more and more to Indian players. Of course, we need to find products like Mancozeb, 2,4-D, or synthetic pyrethroids, where we have a molecule which is being exported and the product is running 24/7 round the year. Today, the export which is coming to India is majorly for contract manufacturing on campaign based. It's like 6 months campaign, 4 months campaign, 2 months campaign, 9 months campaign. But you cannot say that I am giving this molecule to a multinational, be it CTPR, chlorotrinipol, and I am actually manufacturing it 12 months round the clock with 300 tons of per month capacity. So also we need to understand why the export has increased. First of all, I said that there is an increase in export because of the China plus one and Euro plus one strategy. Number two, it was a tariff issue between China and US. So I can only say thanks to Trump Baba. He introduced the tariffs, and because of that tariffs, India is able to export to US, and that's why the Indian exports are dearer than China. But today, I think Mr. Shivraj knows it much more better. We spend $500,000 or $1 million on $1 in Brazil, and when we get the registration, we lose the order for 5 cents for a payment which comes in 180 to 210 days. If you're lucky, what he said. So that's the irony that today as an Indian manufacturer, I'm spending $1 million or $500,000. I have waited for 6 years to get a registration in Brazil, and I lose an order for 5 cents. That's, yeah. Now, basically, we need to actually have a robust system wherein we are spending more on R&D, and I will be very candid in saying, out of the top 200 agrochemical companies in global world, maybe we will have only 10 from India. It's multinationals and then Chinese. So the ecosystem of qualified Qualified means you can supply to a multinational. Manufacturers in India is not more than 5050. You can count actually them. Maybe if you talk about the real big manufacturers, a few of them are sitting here, is only 15 to 20 who qualify the norms of Japanese players and the global multinational players. And that is why we see a big export to US because of trade tariff issue. Number two, we see a big export to Japan because of the contract manufacturing. Number three, we see a big export happening to Belgium because it's purely Syngenta or a multinational who is taking to the Belgium majorly. And that's why we need to understand what Mr. Kalyan just said. What about the other 130 countries where we are? Are we able to compete globally, or we are here as a toller? So it's time that we need to, make some inroads wherein we can be a strategic preferred supplier for even a generic molecule. As I said, Indophil, UPL, Coromandel had done a great job with Mancozeb. GARDA had done a great job with CPP or chlorpyrifos. Similarly, a lot of Indian companies have done great job with 2,4-Ds and all. But we need such molecules where there is volume. Today, as a owner of a company, what Rajesh ji is today, he feels which molecule I can get, which I can run 24/7 round the year. We need to change our strategies again and again. So earlier we were preferred partners because of China +1 and Euro +1 strategy, and today we are a preferred partner because of the major issue, which is protection of IP rights. This is a time where we need to also excel ourselves and also make ourselves more competitive, because when we go for backward integration, it's the Indians who are not helping the Indians. The raw material which is coming from China, if an Indian player starts making lambda acid, even for 5 cents, we will prefer to buy from China. So it's also a time where we need to actually, sit together and say, okay, you make this, you make this. You know what is the beauty of Japan? I've been there many times, and I'm interacting with almost 14, 15 companies in Japan also, and also in US. They don't compete with each other. If you have 20 basic manufacturers in Japan, nobody will make a second molecule which is competing to that. So let's say Kuzalofop is coming from Nissan, so nobody else is making Kuzalofop. And in India, we have thiamethoxam being manufactured by 50 companies today. So I think the export will become more dearer if we actually invest on newer chemistries and invest on R&D, what Mr. Rajesh just said. And anybody who wants to come into manufacturing, I will say, please come. There is a lot of scope for everybody. There is no word like competitor. We are all peer groups, and the ecosystem will allow all of us to make inroads to the export market. That's my take.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. As such, now I'll move to marketing. In last 2-3 decades, the marketing strategy has changed, drastically changed. Now there need to be innovation in marketing strategy. So I'll come to Professor Manjare to, if you can throw some light on the innovation and research-led marketing.
Thank you, sir. So basically, I'm an academician and I'm a chemical engineer. So I will mostly speak related to the upstream processes, not the application part. To see the role of chemical engineer in most of the sectors is looking after the operations. One of the important aspect of process industry is a pollution control issue. That is why we all are here, because the overall impact, whether it is hazardous impact or environmental impacts, are rising. And we hope this, all of us want to have the solutions for this. Because of pollution issues, sustainability has become very important. We all know that United Nations has also given a mandate to the players, major players in the market, that by 2030, all the major players should either have 30% of the recycled materials in their product or the biomass-based raw materials. Because this is sustainability issue, and since the sustainability is related to pollution also. Now, why these issues have come? Just now, Mr. Aggarwal mentioned that strategic planning has to be there by the industry in order to have the exports. We are lacking here. It is basically the fundamental issue is that majority of the industries are very casual towards the pollution issue. I'm not talking about the players sitting here, of course, But if you see, you mentioned almost some 10% industries or probably less than that are among top few industries. So it is because of, I was a advisor, pollution member, advisor, technical advisory committee member for Pollution Control Board Goa. And my interaction with the industries revealed me that many industries are very callous towards the pollution issues. When it comes to the pollution, it is always secondary. Why few companies have made brand names? You take Pepsi, you take Coca-Cola, you take Scott Paper Company, you take IBM, you talk about Motorola. These are not process industries, some of them. But they adopted the best management practices, environmental management practices long back. And that is why they could rule the market decades. We are lacking there. Mr. Aggarwal rightly mentioned that the strategic planning is being lacked by majority of the players in the market, in India basically. So that is basically the fundamental flaw is that majority of the industries, whether it's medium scale, maybe some of the large scale players or even small scale industry, they think that the pollution is something secondary and we have to have the reactive approach for the pollution control. They don't worry about the processes, etc. The reactive approach is that, we always say prevention is better than cure. That they let the pollution form and then they work on the treatment, etc. Why not the proactive step? All these sustainability issues are related to the proactive measures. I think majority of us taking out now, but since the issue has come, how it is related to market penetration. Now, related to the proactive measures, we have always 4 steps. One is you change the raw materials. That is what we all are doing. Probably we are trying to find out the new molecules. Second, we are trying to change the process conditions because I'm talking about the upstream processes. So the process manufacturing, process optimization, mathematical modeling, all the new tools should be integrated. Third is the equipment replacement. And fourth is proper housekeeping. These 4 major steps are true or it's right, are needed to any organization. Ultimately, our 4 objectives are to maximize the profit, minimize the emissions, minimize the energy content, and minimize the materials. Right? So these, in align with our objectives, we must focus on the proactive steps, and which are directly, coming from ISO 14000. That is the environmental management standard. How many companies are in India, not necessarily agrochemical, have adopted ISO 14000? You take the, if you do the analysis, recent analysis I don't have, but 2015 we have got one data. Out of 12 lakh industries in India, only 8,000 industries adopted ISO 14000. Can you imagine? That's the situation. And that includes, because our international market also depend on whether you are ISO certified or not. Now also you see, in India, probably, many people don't know about this ISO or they don't know about this, morning also. I don't know, a gentleman mentioning about that lot of corruption, lot of unethical practices are being followed by the industry. So it is because customers are not, aware about these issues. So we need to see that we adopt the best practice, irrespective of whether customers are aware or not. Why European countries or USA, they are dominating the market, or even China? It is because customers they are adopting the best practice. Customers are equally aware about this issue. That is not the case in India. We need to have the strategic planning in order to promote our products in the market, in addition to, of course, all other regulations, etc. The best practice that we must adopt the ISO 14000. Or not ISO 14000, there are certain tools available under ISO 14000 standard, like you just get it certified ISO 14000. Carry out the regular environmental audit. Carry out the life cycle. You should integrate the life cycle thinking approach in the production. Particularly in upstream processes, if you see, unless we have life cycle thinking approach. What is this life cycle thinking approach? It is basically, when we always talk about the new molecule. But now if you see whether new molecule is more hazardous, it has more environmental impact, how do you know that? We have to compare with the existing molecule, and this is a common tool. It's a unique tool throughout the world. People are using life cycle thinking approach. There are 3 concepts. One is life cycle costing. Second is environmental life cycle assessment, and third, social acceptance, social life cycle assessment. All these 3 are important. It is not that we are proposing the new molecule and then it is accepted by the, So we can say that new molecule is better than the existing molecule only in gate-to-gate approach. That only in the certain thing. But we have to consider from the cradle to gate. because we need raw materials. So right from the mining till the product is used and disposed in the after application basically. So do we do that? We don't do that. Majority of the industry don't do that. We must adopt, I think, this life cycle thinking approach, and that will only solve our problem. Remember another thing I will tell you, why this situation has come today. Unless we adopt the proactive measures, no pollution problem will be solved. How much technology you will? Of course, you can comply with the pollution guideline and show that we are complying all our parameters. That way all of us know how it is being done, right? It is how it is manipulated, etc. So that is very well known. But I think that is not the correct way. If we want to remain in the market and our growth has to be sustainable, definitely we must adopt these practices and see that our market is accepted, basically our product is accepted in the international market. International market, this is one of the driving force for the adopting ISO 4. It is a voluntary standard. In fact, during one of the meetings when Goa Pollution Control Chairman and we were discussing, I had mentioned that.
Professor, sir, I'll stop you here.
Yeah.
I'll come back to you again.
Okay,
I'll come
just
back to you.
this sentence I will
Yeah,
complete.
please.
So, because I was mentioning to Goa Chairman Pollution Control Board that since regulations are there, but ISO standards are not mandatory, why not you make mandatory, right? I'm sorry, but it should be made mandatory. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot. I'll come to Saif Mohammad, sir. You know, like you're from skilling organization. So, you know, like from manpower perspective, if you can, you know, like speak for 2 minutes, how to bridge the gap.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Well, I was just listening to my fellow panelists, and I do see that there are, a lot of challenges on the ground. I think we need to look the entire picture from two perspectives. We need to look picture from two perspectives. One is the transitional, the transition that you have, and the other is transformation, what you can do. I definitely resonate the sentiments of the industry, wherein we talk about, China plus one. That is transition, We are facing this problem. But as a generic knowledge says that necessity is the mother of invention, I think if we are challenged, we should be able to find a way out. In short term, you cannot formulate or form, a precise, an absolute, kind of mechanism wherein you can take up the competition. But from medium to long term, yes, you can be transformational. Now coming to your point, sir, I think we as in India, already we have lot of resilience. We are everywhere. And we are into almost everything across the world, across the globe. And we are very adaptive as well. When I talk about we are talking about the human resources of India. I think we need to identify new areas like EBA. Climate change is one of the biggest things that is happening. The next opportunity to leapfrog for Indians, wherein we have lot of, IT talent over here. We have the fundamentals already, there for for every sector, especially for agrochemicals in terms of IT and technology. Why not we invest into workforce development, be it in form of R&D, be it in form of, when I talk about this opportunity of eco-based, ecosystem-based agriculture, which is very, correlated to the technology, I think Indians can do wonderfully well over there. Having said that, the industry needs to have an incubation centers and pledge for developing the human resources over here, the skill sets which are necessary to meet these kind of opportunities. So I think I've talked about the opportunity which is there, big for agrochemical industry, and the way to leapfrog it, and also what is required from the industry. When you go into the specific skill sets, it can be precision farming, GI based, AI based. I mean, there are multiple things that are happening on the ground. Why not train people to take care of that and also cascade the same to different regions? I think I would just, finish up this point over here.
Sure. Sure. Thanks a lot. I'll come to Shashankji. Would you like to talk on integration and acquisition and alliances?
Yeah. Um, After this China, actually China, what I can say this after COVID, the scenario has made a very favorable for the India, and the industries are closing down at China, and they are visiting, they are having a different collaborations in the country. So there is a possibility, and some of the industries has gone for this collaboration also. Since I am from the HIL India Limited, government PSC, so whatever policies the government has introduced to collaborate with this, yes, it is working. And definitely Make in India program has supported our industry. For that, I think recently after this BJP government only this schemes has launched, and after that you see the growth. So this government is supporting collaborations and all, and we also as open for this to the industry. Even after COVID, we have returned to I think more than 21 industries, agrochemical industries, to have a joint venture with them. And now we are open and we will discuss also. So the good opportunities is there in the country to have a collaboration for outside.
That's a very, nice word from a government organization. Thanks a lot. I'll come to Dr. Shilpa. And, if you can speak about the significance of data and decision driven by the same.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kalyan. The data-driven decisions in the market today, they have a very important role. Data, what do you mean by data? Data could be your data from the climatic data, the pest cycle data, and the human capital and the cost data. So how are these different kind of data driving the decisions? Understanding and preempting these factors, including climatic changes, pest cycle and pest life cycle changes, and understanding how these factors lead to an impact on the farming community at large. So using those AI-based tools and the internet-based tools to assess these and analyze these type of data to arrive at decisions, thereby you're ultimately resolving a solution, resolving a problem wherein you need a complete life cycle, a complete chain of solutions. So I would say the data-based decisions are a necessity in today's scenario. And with that, you need the right interfaces and technology partners. Thank you.
Many thanks. I'll come back to sir. Rajesh sir, we are talking about PLI, and government is not giving that much of attention to the agrochemical industry. They have given proper attention to the pharmaceutical industry. And it's really working very well in pharmaceutical industry. So how PLI is going to help this industry? If you can speak on that.
Like as I told in the past, that all the big boys, they are now doing backward integration, and I will also include certain points in this, the 2 points which were discussed by the other people. Now, most of the companies, like it's a big boys fight, as I told you. ISO is very small. If I talk about the agrochemical sector, India, what is the Indian market size? 40,000 crores. I think the leading 40 odd companies would be covering, Abhishek, not less than 30,000?
Yeah, easily.
So 75% of the business is happening by these 40 odd companies. And I think if we see most of these companies, not only ISO, you may find NABL, and at least I think a dozen of companies already have a GLP. So sir, lot of things are there. So there may be certain developing players, certain very small developing players. We cannot form our opinion based on that. And regarding the training and everything also, when you are investing in R&D, when you are spending in innovation, when you are trying to bring the new technology to the country, because when I say new technology to the country, whenever the new products are coming, it's not like a generic that you place on the counter, because that was the old story 20 years back when I was entering this business, 30 years back. At that time, it was believed that farmer is given a substandard product. Today, the market is not like that. If you have to increase your share, you have to fight with the top-notch MNC. And MNC is not selling on price, it is selling on value. So if you have to be in that club, then your product should be able to give the value to the consumer. And consumer needs a solution. So for that, everybody is concentrating on giving better quality products, and educating and training the teams is a very common factor across the sector. And this is one reason that this industry, which was just about 1,500 to 2,000 crores 20 years back, today is 40,000 crores in India. And the export, as everybody has talked about, is more than $5 billion. 5.4 billion is the precise number, which means the industry is progressing a lot. We expect a lot of support from government. We know that our size was very, very small in the past, but now we have been harping that we are a export surplus industry. We are contributing a lot. We are exporting a lot. We have got the capability. So if those type of supports come in, because during the initial stages, when PLI was talked about, I was also meeting some of the secretaries and their teams. They were talking about big, I mean to say, the big projects, which involve 200 reactors. 150 reactors. I said, this is not viable. If you want to give the benefit to the masses, then it should be a smaller project having 15, 20 odd reactors, which a reasonable sized company can plan. So the benefit should come to the masses, the people who have just started the backward integration, or the people who are running mid-sized plants, which are on 500,000 crores, they should be able to think about further backward integration by taking the advantage. So we look at the advantage in two ways. Number one, PLI support, because that will tempt the industry to do further backward integration. Because China, people talked about that, China is giving a lot of support to their manufacturers. What support Indian manufacturer is getting? When I do a 9.3, it opens the floodgate for 9.4. So there is an Indian competition. At the same time, the government should restrict the Chinese people to enter into the country for the same molecule, but they get the privilege and they enter. So there is a domestic competition as well as the international competition for a manufacturer. So what is the privilege left? So if there are certain advantages in form of this scheme, and further for the newer molecules, if we are allowed to do it with the reasonable data. When I say reasonable data, we are just asking the exemption for long-term toxicology data and nothing else. We'll do all the data as required. And the world is moving like that. But somehow we have a hybrid system where we are not doing that. But if that is done, definitely I believe that PLI can be a big help for the mid-sized companies to grow further. And this will encourage further backward integration. And that day is not far, because this backward integration process has started in the last decade itself in the country. People are competing like dogs and cats and not realizing that ultimately we have to select the products and move in certain range of products. As people burn their fingers, that day is not far, that when we will become more civilized, or I would say more understanding, and will select the products and do the products. Because there are, as I said, there are more than 1,000 in the world. In India, just 250. So there's a long way to go, and most of this list is off patented. Thank you.
Many thanks, sir. Now we have left with 6-7 minutes. So would you like to say something in 1 minute? Just sum up.
I think strategic alliances and
Yeah.
vertical integration was discussed. I think we are also at a mature point in the industry where we, where Indian companies can become the partner, who is the strategic partner for especially the continent of Africa. If you actually go into Africa, most of the business there is still in the hands of old colonial family-run businesses who had no skill to bring to the game outside of the fact that their country was ruling, be it the French in West Africa or the English in the eastern part of the continent. It is so when strategic alliances discussed, we always think of, you know, the Japanese or the MNCs becoming our partner. But I think Indians are far better than the Chinese in handling businesses on the global stage, because that's where fair competition comes in. And which is why you don't see the Chinese in these distribution setups. So I think when we do discuss strategies or business models where we become the strategic partners in Africa and replace these old family offices, that is really someplace where we can outsmart the Chinese. And in the meantime, of course, keep waiting for PLI schemes or better support for the government. But I think for the next 3 to 5 years, we'll have to be a little more adaptive and nimble and not keep waiting, because we will get overrun.
Thanks a lot. So Shashank ji, in 1 minute, if you want to sum up.
Because the topic was with the marketing and penetration. And since I am from the marketing side, the agrochemical marketing since 1995 and today has taken a different shape. Actually, I have started my career with the fertilizer marketing. So fertilizer has today totally transformed. Now the POS has taken the place where farmers has put their angutas and take the bags. In agrochemical also, I used to say my bosses, ki if a day you have not visited a field and not met less than 10 farmers, means you are not doing the marketing. Now today, a lot of platforms, I think whatever companies are working in the country, they are having their own apps, marketing apps, and they are selling it also. Even UPL, Syngenta, Bayer, everyone has started this online marketing. The good part is our farmers is also getting educated day by day. Whatever in 1980s and today, the scenario has been changed. Now they are talking about the technicals, latest technical they are talking. So the marketing has changed their shapes, and definitely in coming days also it will be very fast. So this is the
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Abhishek ji. Just 1 minute.
Yeah. So I will say I'm a very proud AgChem market Indian today. It is because of India that global farmers are being benefited, and we have seen that Chinese have often again increased the prices like anything, and now they fear India. So they are not able to increase price to a certain level because we are already developed as an alternative source. So we should be proud that we are not only helping the Indian farmers, but we are helping the farmers globally. Point number 1. Point number 2, I will just suggest that anybody who is coming into manufacturing, please do come again. I am saying this, reiterating this, but please have a plan which is domestic plus international both. Otherwise, your technical manufacturing will fail. So if you want to capture the global market, which is the topic of today's session, please go for a molecule which is India bound and also global bound. The manufacturing cost of formulations is much more better in India. That's why in Europe, a lot of material is going as a packed product from India, and also now in US, you don't get the slots to even manufacture a formulation. And there is a huge jump of formulation exports from India happening. So I think India is here to stay, and we all should be proud of Indian AgChem market. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Professor sir, summing up in 1 minute. Manjare sir. Just 1 minute.
Hello. Basically, as a process engineer, we must see that we adopt the best practices while manufacturing any product. We must adopt the proactive measures in order to reduce the impact on the environment, to have the sustainable development. Our R&D must continue irrespective of that, we have developed this molecule because every day R&D, new papers are published, new patents are filed. So I think we must continue that effort, and that will only that will probably lead to the entry into the international market or increase in your export. That's what. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Shilpa. Within 1 minute.
Yeah, sure. So for the marketing, like Mr. Aggarwal just mentioned, it has to be domestic as well as international based. I would say at the same time, apart from marketing being in the territory of export and domestic manufacture, at the same time you should also consider the technical status, patent status of the products which are being, for where the money and time is being spent. Because most of the times you see in publications, we work on off-patent molecules. But at the same time, IP comes in and you see there are other secondary thicket patents which are surrounding those particular primary, the new chemical entities which are off-patent now. So understanding the secondary patents aspect, like the formulations covering those technicals, and also the processes for the intermediates covering, the patents covering those processes also. So one should have a clear understanding before launching or selling or manufacturing these kind of molecules, I believe. Because you're spending lots of time and investment into one particular product. So I would say from an IP standpoint, ascertaining the patent status of a particular product which you want to work on is the key here when you are looking from an IP standpoint. Thank you.
Sir, Saif Mohammad, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll just finish up within 1 minute, or less than that. So I come here with a remedy to this panel and to this conference. I could hear there is a lot of, expectations from the government. We as a council work very closely with the government bodies. In fact, I was involved in PLI launching of the scheme of around electronics. I worked around it firsthand with the ministry, say somewhere around 10 years back, 12 years back. And now you can see that in shape. I invite in this conference, with your permission, sir, to have industry consultative committee formed by the top companies who represent India in agro-chem space. Before 22nd of December, we have a meeting with Minister of State, Srimati Shobha Kardanglaje. We can take up the idea of PLI, but it has to be well built. We can help you as an aggregator to aggregate all the points and then take it up with the ministry. And I'm sure even government really welcomes the industry point of view, only that they need to be guided and they need to be told exactly what needs to be incorporated in the policy. So with that, I end, and that is the immediate action and solution that I can offer on the
Thank you very much for the instant response, actually. So I'm really thankful. So I represent CCFI, which is a manufacturers association. So Mr. Harish Mehta has been working very hard on this subject. So we already have a committee and he is the representative from our association. So we'll exchange cards, and I think he can partner with you for this thing and will be helpful for your response. Yes, yes.
So many thanks to all the panelists, like you have given your time.